The Council on American Islamic Relations was on TV 666 times in 2023. 481 of those broadcasts were attacks against the public in a foreign country. The breakdown of the categories of these attacks include a foreign country, Israel, Nazis, elected officials, businesses, prisons and watch list, teachers and schools, individuals, and finally the police. Although CAIR attacked the same Nazi group 3 different times, each attack is counted as a separate incident because they were weeks apart from each other. As opposed to Israel, which received a steady daily stream of attacks from CAIR between October and December, totaling 300 attacks in all. Even though, since October 7, CAIR has shown their loyalty is to Hamas and not to the United States, network affiliates are putting this group on TV more than ever. There has been a 216% increase in CAIR's TV attacks since 2018, and they show no sign of slowing down.
Morning. A new partnership between Oklahoma schools and conservative nonprofit PragerU is sparking fierce debate. It's causing tension with the Council on American Islamic Relations, who say the content is biased against members of their faith community.
One advocate for Muslims in Oklahoma says their content is biased against members of his faith community and others.
PragerU is definitely skewed towards a certain political and Christian nationalistic white savior message that is not beneficial for minorities of any background here in Oklahoma.
Adam Sultani also faulted the video's ability to even give a good picture on complex issues, citing one in particular that describes persecution against Egypt's minority Coptic Christian community.
They're 5 or 6 minute videos, and you cannot tell the story of a complex and complicated relationship between 2 of the major world religions in a country like Egypt or any other country in the Middle East or the world in a 5-minute snippet.
Now, PragerU is responding to Sultani's comments. The CEO said in part, quote, CAIR is an organization that stands against American values. It's no surprise they're trying to take PragerU down. She then went on to say in part, quote, unlike CAIR, we do not attack people based on their religion, country of origin, race, or gender. We're going to have their full response to CAIR's claims on OKCFox.com. We'll also have links to their content posted so you can view it for yourself and make up your own mind.
As a Muslim and as a father here in Oklahoma, I would want Ryan Walters to know that he is really playing with the lives and the emotions of people in our state.
The Council on American Islamic Relations filed a lawsuit today against the Biden administration, seeking an end to what's known as the Federal Terror Watch List.
CAIR began suing the FBI this morning in 3 states and Washington, D.C.
Muslim mayor from New Jersey who was abruptly disinvited from a White House event is now part of a lawsuit aimed at ending the federal terrorism watch list.
You could just imagine what he went through. 11 other plaintiffs have also joined that lawsuit.
I joined CAIR and other plaintiffs in filing a lawsuit against those who are responsible for allowing racism to exist deep inside the agencies that are supposed to protect us.
Well, a previous lawsuit filed by CAIR resulted in a federal appeals court upholding the terrorism watch list back in 2021.
And so there's no place for Palestinians to go. We're looking at a concentration camp to over 2 million people, 2 million people living in an area smaller than Washington, D.C., with nowhere to go since 1956. 1956. Some people have never left. Imagine living in Washington and never leaving that city for your entire life. And many of the children have seen, this is maybe their 4th war, maybe their 5th war.
The solution to this crisis is clear: in the occupation.
Its executive director says they believe the only way to stop the violence is to end the occupation.
And the core issue here at hand is to ensure that the decades-long illegal occupation of Palestinian land and the denial of Palestinian human rights is addressed.
To end it, though, they say, is to end the U.S.-funded occupation of historic Palestine.
The only way to stop this violence is to end the occupation.
But the group says the attacks were the result of decades of oppression by Israel.
75 years of dispossession of the Palestinian people, occupation by the Israeli government,
and call on our leaders to seek an end to the occupation that is fueling these cycles of violence.
The Maryland chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations says in part, quote, "We mourn the loss of innocent life over this past weekend and over 70 years of Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine."
More than 2 million people live in Gaza, and most have nothing to do with the Hamas attack. Most want to live in peace.
And the only just solution to the crisis here is an end to the occupation of the Palestinian territories.
And Hamas should be treated exactly the way ISIS was treated. They should be spit out from the community of nations. No leader should meet them. No country should harbor them.
Farmington school officials are looking into comments made by a high school history teacher about Israel and Palestine. A Muslim civil rights group says teachers' comments were inappropriate.
In an audio clip obtained by the Connecticut chapter of the Council for American Islamic Relations, the teacher reportedly says 70% of Palestinian land is located in the modern country of Jordan. A tiny piece of it is in Israel. So are we going to protest against Jordan? Farmington Public Schools says the district is reviewing the concerns made from CAIR CT, saying in part, "As an inclusive community, we encourage members of our school community to bring concerns forward as we model and live our core beliefs and equity framework in all aspects of our daily work with students, families, and our community."
Almost daily basis, he was called names, really disgusting names like a terrorist, suicide bomber, member of ISIS.
A former San Jose police officer receives hundreds of thousands of dollars in a settlement with the city.
The complaint says in 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, harassment towards Hadar escalated. He says he was repeatedly harassed during briefing meetings. Though he served in the United States military, Hadar says on Veterans Day 2017, during a meeting, a captain called him an ISIS veteran, and everyone burst into laughter.
For Nabil, that was really the breaking point. That's when he realized that he would never fit in with this group of guys and women, that he was an outsider, he was an other.
After leaving the force and filing a lawsuit, Strauss says San Jose police claimed Hadar participated in the jokes and called it locker room banter. In response to the settlement, the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, released a statement saying, in part, "It is deeply concerning that the city and San Jose Police Department did not acknowledge any wrongdoing, instead choosing to trivialize his claims by suggesting he was a willing participant."
Calling on the president to demand a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The group plans to protest peacefully.
As American Muslims, we have suffered under many presidents through different types of policies. But this particular is a big red line. We believe by not electing Biden and him losing, it will reset the political discourse on the American Muslim vote.
Do you want the man who proposed the Muslim ban in office?
Well, it's important to know we're a civil rights organization. We don't tell people who to vote for or who to vote against.
The National Muslim Democratic Council wrote this open letter to Biden. "We pledge to mobilize Muslim, Arab, and allied voters to withhold endorsement, support, or any votes for any candidate who did not advocate for a ceasefire and endorse the Israeli offensive against the Palestinian people."
No ceasefire, no votes. No ceasefire, no votes. No votes in Michigan. No votes in Arizona. No votes in Georgia. No votes in Nevada. No votes in Wisconsin. No votes in Pennsylvania. No votes in Ohio. No votes for you anywhere. If you do not call for a ceasefire now, we will make our voices heard more and more. In November, we remember. In November, we remember.
Maryland's Council on American Islamic Relations filed this complaint this week against Dr. Darren Klugman, called for the Hopkins doctor to lose his medical license over these social media posts. In the days after Hamas's October attack, posts from Dr. Klugman's account called Palestinians animals and called for their slaughter. Chaudhry says Hopkins employees flagged the post. The account is now deleted, but in an email from Klugman obtained by WJZ, he allegedly wrote in part, "These messages in no way reflect my beliefs, me as a person, a physician, a friend, or colleague." Johns Hopkins Medicine Thursday said it shares concerns about the social media post. In that statement, its vice president of communications went on to say the faculty member who made these statements has been placed on leave and thus will have no interaction with students or patients while we conduct a thorough investigation.
There are consequences for this kind of rhetoric.
Here in Maryland, critics are calling on a member of the state's Hate Crimes Commission to be removed after a series of Facebook posts about Israel. Paul Kessler reports the Maryland director of the Council of American Islamic Relations says her words were distorted and are distracting people from the loss of life in Gaza.
These are some of the posts from Zainab Chaudhry that have some calling for her to be removed from the state's Hate Crimes Commission.
The people who are using this opportunity to distract from the core issue don't recognize or value Palestinian human lives.
On the day of Hamas's attack in Israel, Chaudhry used the term the uprising in Palestine, and 2 days later referred to Palestinian freedom fighters. Libet specifically referenced Chaudhry's October post comparing Israel to Nazi Germany.
Anytime you start comparing the actions of Israel to Nazi Germany, it's anti-Semitic.
Chaudhry spoke with WJZ last week, calling for a Johns Hopkins doctor to lose his medical license over social media posts calling Palestinians animals. He's now on leave. She says the two cases are very different.
I have a responsibility to speak truth to power and to expose the injustices and the double standards that are existing in our society.
Now, nearly 3 weeks later, the school has failed to take any action.
Zara Ballou is the executive director of CAIR San Francisco Bay Area. She says on October 25th, a Muslim student at Francisco Middle School in San Francisco was allegedly attacked as she was walking home. Ballou says the student was punched in the back of the head and struck multiple times in the chest and ribs, and that one of the attackers allegedly said this to the victim.
The attackers used the words, "you effing Muslims," and continued to beat her. She suffered a concussion.
The victim's parent sharing this statement tonight, saying, "I am deeply concerned for my daughter's safety. She was violently attacked, and the school and district have failed to take action to protect her. They need to move quickly to hold her attackers accountable, protect her, and make clear to our community that Islamophobia will not be tolerated." The San Francisco Unified School District says it is investigating the incident and working directly with the impacted families, also adding that we are deeply concerned by reports that hate speech between the students was a factor in this altercation. Per California Education Code and district policies, there are serious consequences for hate speech and violence. As the investigation continues, Ballou feels it's been a slow response and it's sending the wrong message to the local Muslim community.
To think that a child was violently attacked, suffered a concussion, and the district is still investigating 3 weeks later. How is this child and anyone that looks like her supposed to feel safe?
New information now on a lawsuit that claims a woman's rights were violated when she was booked into a Warren County jail.
County officials say they defend their actions.
According to the lawsuit filed by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, the woman was mistreated when she was being held at the Warren County jail. The complaint claims that Doe was, quote, subjected to an unnecessary full-body strip search that was filmed and projected on a TV screen for all those present in the jail lobby to see, unquote, and then was allegedly forced to remove her hijab for her booking photo, which goes against her faith and would violate her constitutionally protected rights. According to CAIR, the purpose of the lawsuit is to have the jail stop taking booking photos of Muslim women without their hijab.
I mean, our client, Jane Doe, has a driver's license and she has a U.S. passport, and both of those things feature her photo with her hijab. As long as the face is identifiable, it shouldn't be an issue.
And to have all images of Jane Doe without her hijab removed from public and private records. In a press release, Chief Jailer Harmon said they are aware of the lawsuit and admits there was an incident at the jail. But Harmon goes on to say that the lawsuit contains exaggerations and inaccuracies, and those constitutional rights were not violated. The jailer adds, Warren County and its employees will vigorously defend their actions taken on this matter.
The family of a Conroe doctor who was stabbed to death last month wants her murder investigated as a possible hate crime. According to the Houston Chronicle, the Houston chapter of the Council of American Islamic Relations has now called for a federal investigation 1 month after Dr. Talat Jahan Khan was killed. Police say Khan was sitting at a picnic table with her dog when 24-year-old Miles Joseph Friedrich approached her and stabbed her several times. Friedrich has now been charged with murder.
New here at 5 o'clock, a Muslim woman claims a job offer at a Chicago law firm was rescinded over her public support for Palestinians. And her complaint is being supported by members of the Chicago Council on American Islamic Relations.
An Arab-American woman is now taking legal action against the Foley and Lardner law firm in Chicago for allegedly discriminating against her when they rescinded her job offer. Janan Shahadi is a Georgetown law graduate who had been interning with that law firm when she says they offered her a full-time position about a year ago, and she was set to start that job in late October. But right before her first day on the job, she says she was called into a meeting with the head partners.
They interrogated me in a hostile manner about my social media posts related to Palestine, about my involvement with Students for Justice in Palestine, and about other aspects of my identity and background.
Shahadi says the law firm also pulled up a video of her public comment at a city council meeting on October 13th, where she asked aldermen to vote against an Israeli resolution to condemn Hamas's attack on Gaza. This is video of her in a news conference following that meeting.
I spoke in the public comments, as is my First Amendment right. I made a 3-minute speech saying that the resolution was entirely one-sided, made no mention of Palestinians. My post advocated again for Palestinian rights and to the occupation and upholding international law.
Shahadi says it's emotionally painful for her and has caused some financial struggles too, as she rented an apartment next to that law firm, which she can no longer afford. She believes the treatment to her is not the same as others at that law firm.
They framed my advocacy for Palestinian rights as supporting terrorism, which is a racist smear with no factual basis, when support for Palestinian rights is about freedom and equality.
The Chicago chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is now helping her pursue legal action against the law firm.
We're very clear in what we stand for. We stand for the human and civil rights of everyday human beings, men, women, and children.
Janan's lawyers tell us they will be filing discrimination and equal opportunity claims before officially filing a lawsuit. From River North, Mayor Kawash, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
This afternoon, we begin with a Palestinian-American woman hoping the federal government will step in and investigate why she lost her tutoring job at one of South Florida's most prestigious private schools.
The school said they had to turn to the FBI after someone threatened violence against the school. The school said her posts made students reluctant to interact with her and exposed the campus to increased security concerns. They said, for example, she posted an image of a soldier pointing a machine gun at an infant inside an incubator. As a response to this, CAIR, the organization representing the tutor, said it is a constitutional issue when a school administration takes retaliatory measures against an innocent student because his mother made nonviolent, non-disruptive comments on her social media platform.
The Florida chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is holding a news conference as we speak, asking the U.S. Department of Education to investigate the firing. In a statement, the school says in this case, Pinecrest communicated with the former employee regarding specific posts that were causing significant fear and disruption among students and parents, cautioning her about the impact she was having on our school community. She did not remove the material and, in fact, posted more inflammatory content.
In a statement, Pinecrest School says that Maha's post included an image of a soldier pointing a machine gun at an infant inside of an incubator and an image with commentary suggesting that some wanted to roast babies in an oven. The student handbook and enrollment agreement make clear that if a parent engages in behavior that is disruptive, intimidating, or overly aggressive, the school may take the action that it deems necessary to address the situation.
A call for a quick investigation tonight after an 8-year-old boy says a substitute teacher made offensive and inappropriate remarks to him in class. The boy is of Palestinian heritage. CBS 2's Jermont Terry is always investigating. It says the parents and local Islamic leaders want Chicago Public Schools to take action now. Jermont?
Yes, Joe, they do. Now, as CPS students are wrapping up their winter break, this 8-year-old's father says his son is a little hesitant to go back to class after that substitute teacher is accused of targeting him for being Palestinian.
She said that Hamas are terrorists.
Those are the words 8-year-old Mahmoud Emoud says his substitute teacher here at Chicago Academy Elementary told him. Students were in art class when he says the sub started randomly asking their nationality.
I was the last person I said I was from Palestine. She said Hamas are terrorists, and I was like, that's not true. She was like, it says true. I was like, that's not true. And she was like, you know what's true? It's true. I'm gonna hit you.
Mahmoud says the substitute insisted on telling him and the entire third grade class he and Hamas were killing children.
And then I pushed her away, and then I ran back to my desk. Then she raised her hand at me.
Show me what she did.
Like this.
And when she did that, what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind?
Yeah.
I wanted to hit her.
You were mad. And why were you so mad?
She disrespecting my culture.
I was so mad.
Mahmoud's father set up a meeting and he met with school administrators the Wednesday before break.
I went to the principal and I told him, he said, I'm making a report on her right now. But I said, what's the reason she's saying to my son that? He said, I don't have no answer for you right now.
The father says CPS launched an investigation.
They told me they stopped her from going to that school.
Yet it's unclear if this substitute has been banned entirely from working within CPS while they investigate.
There's a lot of Palestinians, Muslim people all over in different schools. The way she treats my kids, she can treat other kids same thing.
This is not somebody that should be working with children.
Since the overseas conflict, CAIR Chicago says discrimination cases with students were mostly confined to college campuses.
This is particularly concerning. This is terrifying for an 8-year-old student who doesn't have anything to do with anything.
This father wants a swift investigation.
I want her to be fired.
And while Hamas is listed by the U.S. government as a terrorist organization, CAIR Chicago and the boy's family says it is unreasonable for the substitute teacher or anyone to constantly try to connect Palestinians to the Hamas organization. That's why they are demanding that this employee be terminated.